Poor Meghan. The unmasking continues every single day, doesn't it? Every week, more is unveiled. More is exposed. And this week, the exposure comes gratis one. Kimberly, no Kardashian. Fabulous. This ensemble, by the way, my darling fruits, welcome to the broadcast. This ensemble only looks kind of acceptable when I'm sitting up straight. As soon as I start to relax, it all becomes a little bit slovenly and the tie starts melding off in other directions. The tie pin doesn't work. I have tried it. And so I'm afraid I'm just going to have to look rather slovenly for this broadcast, my dears. I'm going to have to put up with it. Now, as we all know, Meghan has always wanted her brood in Montecito to be a royal version of the Kardashians, hasn't she, my dear? This is what she's been trying to go after. She's inspired by Kim Kardashian and the likes because of all the wonga, all of the money and the mega bucks they're bringing in. And the trashy sort of glamour that they provide, that is her flavour. I'd fancy that Meghan actually has more in common with another Kim, Kim Jong-un. Don't you, my dear? That dictatorial bent that she has, very much like a Jong-un, Meg Jong-un. That's got a ring to it, hasn't it, my dear? Dictator extraordinaire with the emphasis on the dick. You might recall a while back, was it for the 60th birthday of the Chris woman? They were partying together, weren't they? They were photographed at the Hop. Photos were posted all over Kimberly's socials. In a vulgar style, as always. Who needs to know what's going on at 60th birthday parties? And then they vanished, didn't they? They disappeared from public view. Oh no, they were never there. Piff, puff, puff. Cleanse the internet. Drain it of all evidence of the Markles partying. But we saw it. And in fact, for the very reason that they were quickly taken down is the fact that they came into public consciousness. It's called the Streisand effect. We've discussed it before. Google it. The Streisand effect. You say, don't look here, don't look here. No, it's gone. It never existed. And 2 seconds later, everyone wants to know exactly what was there and what's gone missing. And in this case, it was these stupid photos of them partying. Now, there's no need for abject cruelty in the comment section, so I politely ask you, those who have a slightly nastier, a more wicked bent to their nature, to just keep some of the comments about her appearance, tempered here. But it's no secret. It's no secret, darlings, that the images did not flatter Ms. Markle. Excuse me, Mrs. Sussex. It's no secret, is it, darling? They didn't look good. They didn't look fair to middling. They looked downright awful. This was in contrast to Kimberly. This was in contrast to her, of course, so we must be fair. Kimberly, no. She accentuates her figure, doesn't she? She uses all these devices. She's got a naturally very good figure, but, the waist will be cinched. She's got that huge, proud, fat arse on full display. She likes to achieve cartoonish proportions. Cartoonish, if you ask me, to be honest with you, but that's how it goes. That's how it goes. So many other ladies put next to her would look like a shapeless sack of spuds, wouldn't they? That's just the contrast, the way that it's going to go. Lots of ladies would. She's not the only one. So we must be kind in that respect, doesn't we, my darlings? We must be kind. It's very important in the temperature of today's world, But the suggestion was made. It was made that Meghan's vanity took a hit when she saw the photographs after her team initially gave permission for them to be shown, we found out. She's been parading around and marauding with this new pale and wan chic look for the designers to try and court the fashionistas of the world. All of a sudden she ain't bronzing up. She's pale and wan, delivering heroin chic, but she's nobody's heroine. And the image that we saw was incongruous to the occasion and the environment. Well, as you'll all no doubt have heard by now, it has emerged that Kimberly, speaking with her sister Chloe on video, has addressed this situation, and it is oh so satisfying. It truly is very fruity. She confirmed that the removal of the photographs came at the behest of the Sussexes. Yes, it did. The rumours were true. And we knew it all along, didn't we, anyway? Kimberly's been calling it Photogate. Now, bear in mind, there is no impetus on Kimberly to have disclosed this information. I really need you to understand this. She didn't have to disclose this fact or this comment, this commentary that's coming up, you see. So while she speaks of them in sort of kind terms, and she mentions the fact that there is a sweet relationship that she has with the mother, with Chrissy, there was no need for her to go down this path, and in fact it exposes the fact that the entire friendship is a fraud and is unnatural and is not genuine. Now, I'm going to paraphrase slightly here, but she says, and I'm sure you've seen the video clip, but she says things along the lines of, it was really innocent, the whole thing, this photo gate, which is so crazy. Mom and Meghan have been friends for some years now, and they have a really sweet relationship. Strange choice of words. We took a photo. We were all going through them. We don't post without permission. No, we never do that. She makes it very clear. We don't post photos without permission. We're all communicating about what we're going to post. The teams are all communicating. Oh, you can do this, you can't do that. And all this hullabaloo over a bunch of old photos. She's basically saying that, and she did say there were some really fun and really crazy photos, but we were posting basically the dignified photos out of the selection. She says, we were told that it was totally cool to post, and then after it was posted, I think they realized it was Remembrance Day, and they didn't want to be seen at a party even though it was already up. If Kim Kardashian thought truly highly of the Sussexes, and if she valued this sweet relationship that Meghan has with the mother, she would quite simply have shut up and not addressed this issue. That is for certain. Because, this is all tabloid fodder. It was yesterday's pizza. No one cares about this story anymore. It's forgotten. It's done and dusted. And so she's using this story to generate interest in this podcast or this video, or whatever it is, and in herself, and keep her in the news. And that's all very good for Kimberly Kardashian. Kimberly, no, all very good for her. Bravo, clap, 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 round of applause, and hoity-toity. No problemo. But it exposes the truth behind the veneer. That is not a friend, is it? That is not a friend. You ever listen to Golden Girls? Thank you for being a friend. Up the road and back again, or whatever it is, if you threw a party, invited everyone you knew, you would see the biggest gift, and the biggest grift will be from me. And the card attached would say, thank you for being a friend. The card attached would not say, I'm going to throw you under the bus, throw you to the walls, and tell the rest of the entire world what a stupid, silly, immature little strumpet you've been behind the scenes. They wouldn't do that, would they, darlings? I mean, it's there. It's there for us all to see through the smiles of Kimberly No. Most satisfying. She threw Meghan under the bus. She's humiliated Meghan in public. It is that dramatic. Think about it. What friend does this? Because what she's told us reflects very poorly on Meghan and on Harry in terms of vanity, that they are so high and mighty that they feel the need to curate their public image in such a controlled style, in terms of poor communication as well, behind the scenes. Very unprofessional, isn't it? Jiggling back and forth. And also in immaturity. And this is what I've seen some picking up in the press, that it's so stupid, so teenage, so immature, so Brooklyn and Peltz, Beckham and Peltz. Whichever side of the lollipop, that argument you favour, just immaturity. It's in no way a positive illumination from Kimberly No. So it only highlights the manipulativeness and the controlling nature of what some would call a fraud. Kimberly goes on to say, and then I think they realised, this was so silly. So that is her way of telling us that she also thinks that it's silly. Because why on earth would you reveal those words of a friend to the public? Well, firstly, Meghan and Harry, nobody cares. Nobody gives a shit if you partied on Remembrance Day or not. Nobody of any sophistication. I mean, some middle-class bourgeois phantoms might clutch their pearls and be horrified about the fact that nobody in the lower or upper echelons of society gives a shit. You're not world leaders. So you don't have to set that kind of example. You sell fruit spread, Meghan, and flower sprinkles to the internet. That's what you do. And Harry employs ghostwriters to sell his works of fiction. So go party, go have fun, have the time of your life, have a blast. Stay out all night if you want, my dear, and come back bedraggled. Secondly, if you do not wish to be seen partying on Remembrance Day, then the solution is really quite simple. Don't! How about that? Wouldn't that save you all the all of the drama? Wouldn't it save you all of that if you really wanted to be seen as somebody who is very respectful and doesn't dare party on Remembrance Day? Just don't party on Remembrance Day. Did you not check the diary? This is when it comes down to authenticity, you see, and people can pick it out and sniff the bullshit. Can't they, darlings? Don't tell us who you are. Don't try and manipulate the narrative to tell us who you are. Authentic people just are. They don't act authentic. They are a Princess Anne about situations. They just are authentic. Do you understand? Don't try to be. Don't pretend to be. I'm not telling you that I am. Do you understand? Actually, a very good friend of mine said to me years and years ago at the start of our friendship, she hit the nail on the head. She said about me, she said, do you know, you're both the most pretentious person I've ever met in the entire world and the least pretentious person I've ever met. I always thought that she summed me up really quite well there, so I don't claim to be either. You know, I don't make those sort of claims. It's when people claim this thing, and claim that they're authentic, and claim they're the real deal, as Meghan and Harry tried to do. That's when you've got to feel the warning signal and the antennae go up. Do you understand? But when it comes to who you are and what you are, well, evidently, who you are is tacky as fuck. It's tacky, and this is the behaviour of vulgarians, moreover. Vulgarians, both. It's a tawdry cabaret, it's a phony carousel, and you've been rumbled. Quite frankly, you've been rumbled, and that's for this sweet relationship that we hear about with Chrissy and Kimberly and the K Club in its entirety. They are quite clearly not friends. There's another word that sums this behaviour up. This is the behaviour of frenemies. Frenemies. She's surrounded by them. All of these celebrities that she's been cozying up to. The royals know it. Anybody in society knows you. Watch your step. Unless, you know, you're part of the York clan or something or other. You know, you've got to be really careful where you butter your bread. In fact, it puts me in mind of a revelation I gave to you through whispers that I and I alone had heard about Tina Knowles and that burgeoning friendship. You might recall this was months ago now, but I remember telling you that I had heard tell in relation to all of Meghan's love affair with Arch and Archie and archetypes, all of that we discussed yesterday. I told you that among her list of the words that she wants to use that are wrapped around Arch, which comes from Charles, it's the word matriarch. And Tina Knowles, via her friendship with Doria, getting cosy, another frenemyship, had learned of the fact that Meghan had been storing it up, possibly for a forthcoming memoir, but Meghan had been in no doubt that that was a word that she wanted to bring into the Arch family of all her arch merging. You could have seen a memoir called Matriarch, but Matriarch was going to come at some point. It was one of her words. It had been discussed, certainly with Doria, perhaps with Meghan in the mix as well. Tina went on to release a book called Matriarch, and it was like a fly in the ointment for Meghan. Raging, spitting blood she was. That's what I told you. And it was recommended by Oprah Winfrey in the book club. So this is what I'm telling you. They cozy up to all these people. They both, you know, they all act like they're friends and they're in love and they're the best thing since sliced bread and they're licking each other's arseholes and having a good old sniff while they're down there. The next minute, it's discovered, no, it's frenemyship. It's frenemyship. They're not mates. They're not real friends. They're not real chums. A comment from Deborah Moore, who left this at the beginning of January, and we discussed it in the comments section, so I've already replied to you, my dear, but just for the benefit of others who might be wondering the same thing, Deborah Moore said, I believe you have had a bilateral upper blepharoplasty, or blepharoplasty, I can't remember how it's pronounced, but we'll say blepharoplasty, or just bleph. I'm a retired plastics OR nurse, that is she's saying I've had plastic surgery or cosmetic enhancements to my eyelids, removed basically. Now, is it called fox eyes? You look absolutely wonderful, thank you dear. They did a good job and it explains your absence. I love your energy. Well, Debbie Moore, that tastes like compliment sandwiches dressed in insult sauce, if you don't mind me saying. Or maybe the other way around, shady sandwiches dressed in compliment sauce. I'm not quite sure which, but I can't deny, as cheeky as that comment is, and I'd say a little bit in for a dig, it's also rather fruity. So I'll indulge you, but notwithstanding the fact that in that video that you left that comment on, I just spent 20 minutes explaining to you why I'd been absent, which is not uncommon, by the way. I take weeks off regularly on this channel. I'll go through a flurry of doing 15 in a row very quickly, and then I might have to be away. You have to understand this isn't my job, it's not my career. I don't have an upload schedule, and it doesn't mean that I'm dying every time that I'm away, and I've been away since the conception of the channel for weeks on end, sometimes. So yeah, notwithstanding these facts, if I had gone through with a procedure, an upper blef to my eyelids, at that point in time when you left the comment, I would certainly think that it would be visible and you would be able to see the scar, sort of all healing and everything, but also what I can see from witnessing people who have had it done, you would have seen a much more physical change to the eye, because when people have their eyelids dealt with, and I have got heavy, I wouldn't say heavy, but they're wide eyelids, suddenly they look a little more hollowed out, even when they're well done, which is one of the reasons why, if I was ever to have it done, and I think that at some point in the future I would actually have it done, because as I said, my eyelids are rather heavy or wide. I don't know how you say it, big, I suppose. There's quite a lot of space on my eyelids, but whenever people snip the sort of overhang away, it changes their features, so they put it off for as long as possible. I think I would put it off for as long as possible, but then for practical reasons, because possibly they would become heavy over the eye, do you understand, and actually sag and obstruct the vision. So if it came to that point, then I'd absolutely have them snipped off, my dear. I've heard it can be a very effective procedure, but I haven't had it done, for the record, at this point in time. I haven't had any cosmetic intervention, no surgical procedure to my face, and it moves all around very naturally, and I've got the same old cheekbones I've always had, I've got the same lines and blemishes I've always had, and nothing at this point in time has changed other than the lighting changes, the colours I wear change the look. You mentioned the fact that my eyes were looking foxy, as if I'd had some sort of fox lift. I think they say the same thing about Taylor Swift, don't they? Well, I'm wearing eyeliner today, but I think on that occasion I was winging it out to the side. I wear winged eyeliner a lot, and yes, when I change a little detail on a lip or an eye, or even with the blush, people will think that I've had something done. I haven't had anything done, and perhaps I probably look a bit more plasticky and unnatural in this environment, but I've also taken you out trotting with me, haven't I? Looking very natural out in Hampstead Heath, Primrose Hill. We did some outside broadcasts in very unflattering light, I've got to tell you, but I had no problem taking you out there. And speaking of river in the wild, as I am when I'm out and about, as I've told you before, I don't usually dress up at all like you see me on the broadcast, which makes for a very good disguise, actually, because people expect to see me in a tiara, earrings, and bright colours, I would imagine, and that's not me. I've told you before, I usually wear jeans, brogue boots, t-shirt in white, grey or black, and I always like to have a piece of cashmere on me, whether it's something around my neck or a cashmere beanie, a scarf, gloves. I like something cashmere next to the skin, even a pair of socks. But so it's quite a sober uniform, but there are occasions, whether it's cocktail party, catching up with a friend, something saucy, when I do dress up to the nines. And you put me in mind, I met a basketeer. I met a basket called Selena. Hello, Selena. I'm sure you're watching this, my darling. It was wonderful to meet you because, as I say, I don't really get spotted that often. I mean, it happens frequently, but not as much as you might think, because this is like a sort of disguise, because I don't run around dressed up like this. But on this particular occasion, I was sitting outside the Queen's of Primrose Hill, which is exactly the spot and the exact table that I had at the end of the video, and I showed you around Primrose Hill, and I was sitting outside having a cigarette and a drink. Well, I was in exactly the same position, catching up with a chum that I hadn't seen for 14 or 16 years, who actually used to work as a stripper at the Stringfellows Club, Peter Stringfellow. She's got lots of interesting stories. And anyway, she's a Primrose Hill mummy now with 2 boys, but we were leading each other astray, you understand. Having a drink, was quite tipsy, and we were enjoying a cigarette. This was mid-December, and I hear, "River, river, river." Not in that annoying fashion, in a very polite fashion. It was a wonderful girl, Selina, a basketeer, who was very excited to see me, because there I was. I had massive earrings on, I had winged liner out to the ears. I was winging it out to the ears, my dear, and I was giving the full River broadcast effect. I think I was wearing black sequins, actually, to the top, the full glamour. So she's one of the rare viewers that got to see the full thing, and, well, yes, I suppose you could say it was showing an authentic side. I was rather tipsy, Selina, my dear, but blame my friend, as I say. You know, those strippers, as she was, they're used to knocking them back. They really are, you know, knocking back those shots before a turn, truly. And so I was just trying to keep up, you know. You can take the girl out of the bordello, but it was truly a tonic to me, my dear, it really was. Lovely girl she was, and she had a lovely husband. Lovely husband. What a gorgeous couple you were, my dear. They live in Primrose Hill. And she'd actually commented on a video of me trotting around Primrose Hill back in the summer, and I saw your comment, my dear. So it was good to meet somebody who lives fairly near to me. I don't live in Primrose Hill, but I'm in the surrounds. And your husband was delicious. I said he looked like a young Jason Donovan, and he did, my dear. Too many broken hearts in this world, and he's been breaking them, hasn't he? And so have you, because you're divine as well. So it was wonderful to meet a sane basketeer, a sane, lovely basketeer with a gorgeous young family who was very excited to meet me. I was excited to meet you, and I've said we'll go for a drink maybe in a few months' time. Maybe when it's warmer, my dear, we can get together and have a little catch-up. And speaking of queens, I think I also met another basketeer in Camden a few months ago, and that was the one that surprised me. Your name was Michael. Your name was Michael, and I asked him what his local pub was, and he said it was the Constitution in Camden, which is no longer any good, although it still stands. But that's actually my chum who stripped at Stringfellows. That's where we used to hang out. And you, Michael, really surprised me, because that day I was not looking River-esque at all. At all. I was flustered. It was before I went away to all of those hotels. It was a very hot summer day. I was flustered. I was in cap, very masculine. I was in cap, slovenly, casual wear, carrying 2 Primark bags. No, not Primark, Poundland bags. I needed some props, and I had 2 bags of 60 quid's worth of Poundland items. And you stopped me. River, you stopped me in the middle of Camden High Street, didn't you, darling? How on earth did you recognise me? Looking so slovenly. The mind boggles, but it's a pleasure to meet you too, dear. Right, now, Catherine and her engagements in the north of England. This segment was recorded for the last broadcast, but I didn't have time to edit it, so I'm playing it now. That's why you'll see a switch in the wardrobe now. The Duke and Duchess of Rothsay, as Catherine and William are known when in Scotland, embarked on a jolly to Stirling and Falkirk, fostering community spirit over engagements blending sport and tradition. In muted hues of blue, Catherine wore a coat bespoke by Chris Kerr, and you can see her posing here, well, both of them together, by a queen statues of the Kelpies, who are shape-changing aquatic spirits of Scottish legend. And this bespoke number was made out of cloth woven by Johnstons of Elgin, made for Catherine. She worked together on the fabric design here, and she's been really promoting all that sort of creativity and skill set. She wore a navy turtleneck by Zara and the oval sapphire drops to the earlobes. And then it was on to Radical Weavers, who are a working hand-weaving studio and independent charity in the heart of Stirling. The organisation addresses social isolation, supporting people affected by trauma and loss through the teaching of traditional Scottish tartan weaving skills. Catherine helped to make a tartan scarf that is intended to reach 3 kilometres in length, which will be a world record, and then to the National Curling Academy, where she met teams preparing for the Winter Olympics and participated in a curling match on the ice. William enjoyed a pint of cider. Actually, it was only half a pint. Yeah, they call it 1 pint Willie, don't they? Well, on this occasion, it was only half pint and chilly, with drinkers at the Gothenburg pub, and he spoke of his love of pubs with all that were gathered there. A surprise appearance cheered everybody up at Charing Cross Hospital from Catherine, because she turned up accompanying William and no one was expecting it, so she spoke to astonished staff about the pressures they face during the winter, which is virus season of course, and as joint patrons of NHS charities together, they made it quite clear precisely why they wanted to attend, to acknowledge the incredible work of NHS staff over a difficult winter period. They spent a lot of time talking to volunteers, which is heartwarming to see because, let's take myself, for example. As you know, in the comments, I'm very kindly and very gratefully, showered in praise by lots of you. I'm not a public figure, but I have a public platform. I'm just, a microcosm of the macrocosm. I'm just taking myself as an example. But, those of us with some sort of a platform are showered in praise for this, that, and the fourth, for entertaining people, for the service that we provide. And I absolutely take all of those compliments with good grace. But I'm not saying this to diminish my own aura, my own offer, my own effect, but these people, volunteers that you see Catherine talking with now, volunteers of this ilk, these are the gems. These are the lifeblood of society, people who devote so much of their life to it. I've spoken to you before. I've done volunteering in my time. I'll continue to. I often do dip in and out where I'm able to. Some people devote so much of their life to it. And I'm not talking about martyrs here, I'm talking about people who want to do it, have a sort of vocational calling for doing it. They're givers, you see, they're givers in life. And in giving, one receives, It's a daily mantra of mine to remind myself to be generous of spirit and to give, to seek to give and not to take. You know that I've been attending funerals recently, and one I was actually putting together an order of service. I designed one for somebody who was very beloved to me, and I had suggested for one of the hymns, "Make Me a Channel of Your Peace." It was actually played at the late Diana's funeral as well, sung there. I like that hymn, "Make Me a Channel of Your Peace," and the lyrics always bring one back to oneself, because they make a wonderful reminder, "O Master, grant that I may never seek so much as to be consoled as to console others, that I may never seek so much to be understood as to understand others." This is the message of it, make me a channel of the peace of Christ. Remind me, this is a big one for me personally, don't worry about people understanding one, understand others. Don't worry about being understood or consoled. Console, understand, and give. Not to receive, but in the knowledge that in the giving you are receiving yourself on a spiritual level. These are all very important things. And volunteers, or people who have that natural tendency to give of themselves and to be in service, understand it all too well, I'm sure. And Catherine, in her own way, is one of those people who possesses those qualities. She turned 44 recently, didn't she? Many have returned to all of that a few weeks ago now, but not too far away. My love is like a red, red rose that is newly sprung in June. I say that because Catherine was with the Red Roses, England's Red Roses, at Windsor Castle, celebrating their Rugby World Cup triumph last autumn, and she was dressed like one as well, wasn't she, my dears? The World Cup took centre stage, but its glories were eclipsed by the Scarlet Princess herself, and she looked divine, she was divine, the whole gathering was absolutely divine. Thanks for your fruity company. I truly hope that you enjoyed the show. If you did, and if I made you giggle, consider sending me a tip in the tip jar shown in the box below. Or simply leave me a fruity comment or a juicy thought. I'll see you next time, my dears. Ta-ra and toodle pip.